they're driving drunk possibly because they don't have a friend except each other and they're all drunk. How do we fix that? What do we do?
We tell them to make a plan before they go out.
But what is that plan if they don't have that sober friend that will come get them? What else is there? What else in the theory? What can we do?
Yeah, the university will never do that for a student that goes out and makes that choice to go out to the Strand. But we have.
And that's not even necessarily true. I've heard of police say, if you find yourself in trouble, call us. So it's not something that
Our campus police.
Yes,
Yes.
Well, I
So
didn't
it's
know
not
that.
something that they're not like creating a program like a drunk bus, but
Right.
they
there's
do
something.
care enough to say if you find yourself in a situation where you are in a bad place and you have no way to get to safety, call us.
So we do have something.
Well, let me check with them real quick and get back.
I'll check too. Like, how do I not
because-
ask that? Hey, if I'm in trouble, can I call you?
Yeah.
or no.
Right, yeah, and I'm not gonna, during the presentation I give, because I have another one that I do with these students like February or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell them directly that until I know exactly that the police, that's something that they're gonna do. I know Mary back there said that it was, but I've never heard of that, and I've never heard of a student taking advantage of that.
I've heard them say it.
I don't
But
know
I
that they
can't-
won't get in more trouble afterwards.
Yeah, totally, right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about
exactly.
that, but
Right.
I have heard them say that,
Okay.
and we can confirm that.
That's good to know, I didn't know that.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. So next thing to go over besides alcohol is actual possession of drugs. And so possession of usable quantity of marijuana, 2 ounces or less, is an offense under state law right now. The harder stuff like heroin, cocaine, meth, methadone, mushrooms, and opiates have a little bit more of a jail term if you are found with it. And so that's something we can talk about with them is the dangers of using illegal drugs as well as the fines and punishments that come along with it. One of the things that I also talked about too at this section, and as well as the part at the end about behaviors at parties and everything like that, is ways that students, their organizations, or maybe just themselves, can kind of control how alcohol and drugs are used and not used at a specific event. And so I give a couple examples of student organizations that do really well at this. One of our groups that plans the Maritime Ball every year, they do an excellent job with helping identify who is of age and who is underage by giving them bracelets or marking their hand with a specific mark or anything like that. They hire professional security. Most of the time it's like Galveston PD to help monitor their event to make sure people aren't getting too belligerent or getting out of hand or anything like that.
And usually they let them check their IDs. They don't leave it to themselves to check IDs.
Yeah, so when they hire the cops or whatever, they'll let them do it because then the issues and any problems that might arise are on them by checking the IDs. And so it's just one of the ways that we try to reduce the risk of our student groups. We don't allow groups or students to do drinking games like beer pong or anything like that. And so basically with drinking games is it's hard for you to understand how much you're actually consuming when you're doing stuff like beer pong or beer bongs or anything like that. So sometimes it's really hard to keep an eye out on that, and so that's why we say no drinking games, because if you're not doing drinking games, it might be a little easier for a student organization like Maritime Ball to monitor how much someone has actually consumed. They also control all the beverages that are present, so a lot of times, like with a group like Maritime Ball, they'll have a bartender that'll actually be there handing out the drinks, taking the payments and everything like that. And so you won't necessarily see the student organization handling the alcohol beverages at an event. And then we also don't allow bottles because people break glass bottles and create some kind of hazards so people don't step on glass or anything like that. Sorry guys. So the second thing we're going to go over is hazing. So
And I want to just add in for trying to find which one it is. There's an appendix in the university student rules that is specific to alcohol at student organization events. So it is not, is it 7? I can't find it.
like the actual section.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's 8. So it's alcohol rules and the laws that apply to student organizations on campus residents and others. So there are very, very specific rules about how they can or cannot have alcohol at their events. And it's a lot of the things that Taylor talked about, but it's also how you control entrances. It's, if it's a BYOB event, They have to have an actual bar. You come in with your limited number of beverages, turn them into a bartender who gives you tickets, and you are only allowed to come back and get your drinks. And it's, I want to say it's 2 if it's like a professional event, and 3 if it is if it's a social event. So there are very specific rules, but again, you have to have a designated attendance list or an invite list. If someone is not on your invite list, they are not allowed to come in. So there are very, very specific rules, but there are ways, we kind of feel like there are ways that students can do this successfully and safely and kind of in a controlled environment where they can learn to socialize in an acceptable manner. So, sorry, go ahead.
So hazing is defined as any intentional or reckless act occurring on or off the campus of an educational institution by one person alone or acting with others directed against a student that endangers the mental or physical health or safety of that student for the purpose of pledging, being initiated into, affiliating with, holding office in, or maintaining membership in any organization whose members are students at an educational institution. So this is the definition that the A&M system defines as hazing. It's pretty universal, but they're also, this is definitely covering the bigger stuff that you see on the news. You know, when we're talking about new members or members maybe getting hurt or passing away from drug use or alcohol use, anything like that. But I'm going to go over not necessarily just the big stuff that that you see all the time on the news, but also a little bit more of the subtle things as well. So before I get into that, I'll talk about what hazing does and doesn't do. And so this is really kind of one of the things that I do with the student organizations to kind of help them understand that hazing doesn't necessarily help new members join an organization or build inner strength or anything like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be illegal either, like making them eat something or making them drink or making them do some type of like criminal activity or anything like that. It can be something as simple as like doing exercises or something like that. So I'll do something a little bit about that later on and kind of give y'all some statistics on what our students think is hazing. But basically, hazing doesn't have any kind of boundaries that safeguard the individuals of the group, especially the new members. And so once you cross that line of hazing, there's really no boundary that keeps people from stopping other than a member going in and stepping in and saying, this isn't necessarily something that we should be doing. It does create a cycle of abusive behavior, a false sense of power of control. There are no constraints or boundaries when it comes to hazing. And last but not least, it humiliates, degrades, and embarrasses new members. So I always tell students that, when I was a college student, I never really wanted to join something that humiliated me or embarrassed me or whatever like that. So if you're really wanting them to become leaders on campus or allow them to develop into competent students and competent professionals after they graduate, humiliating them and degrading them doesn't really solve that. So a couple things is, Shelly and I, and Todd had mentioned this yesterday, but we're probably going to start coming out with some type of hazing prevention things that we give out to our student organizations and to our advisors and everything like that. But we also talk to students about how to prevent hazing and how groupthink is one of those things that helps hazing continue to happen in a student organization. So whenever students, participate in something like groupthink, the same actions are going to continue and continue and continue forever. And in some cases, they'll even get worse. And so one thing that I do with the student organizations, and it's totally your choice of whether or not you want to actually do this or not, but I do a Kahoot with our students about what is and isn't hazing. And so basically, right now, I don't necessarily list the big stuff, but I kind of help them decide whether or not things are hazing or not. So do y'all want to participate in this, or do you want me to just give you the questions and the answers?
Participate.
Yeah, let's participate real quick. Let's do this real quick. So, okay, so basically just go on kahoot.it and enter in that pin at the top, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Students would like to. I don't think it's special goals. That does. All right, one more minute, we'll start. Anyone else struggling to get on right now? All right, let's start it. So, 4 questions. It's going to be, is it hazing? So, the first one is going to be lining up new members and quizzing them about useless information. Is this hazing?
You're looking for verbal, or is it, I don't
Yeah,
have my
it's
phone with me.
Oh, no, yeah. So basically, on the phone, they would log in on their actual phone and select, the red, the blue, or the yellow square, basically. So good, yes, so that is an example of hazing. And I'll tell y'all, only 60% of the students in my actual risk management presentations actually got this right. And so this one, kind of, I think it's hazing just because simply, quizzing them about useless information isn't necessarily beneficial to their development as a leader in the student organization. And it's creating that imbalance of power between the new member and the active member, especially when you're taking all the new members, lining them up against the wall, making them do whatever, making them answer dumb questions. It doesn't necessarily create a cycle of, development amongst our student leaders. And so we'll go ahead and move on to the next one real quick. So some of these, and all of these examples that I'm going to give are kind of borderline, they're examples of subtle hazing. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but we'll move on to the next question. So Shelly is winning. I give out gift cards to the winners of the students that participate in this. So it makes them kind of log in and actually do it. So this next one, requiring new members to carry around a book with group info at all times, is it hazing? Okay, so the correct answer again